So hello everyone and welcome to Make a Mark with your Megagame marketing. My name is Becky Campbell-Ladley, also known as BeckyBecky. Sorry,
and I'm Chris Brown.
I forgot completely what we're doing here.
no, go ahead. It's good.
Cool. Yep, I'm joined today by Chris Brown.
Hello.
I am a marketing professional in my day job. I've been working in marketing for about 10 years. And I am also the designer of Everybody Dies, the Game of Thrones Megagame, and Trope High, the American high school fantasy Megagame. I blog at BeckyBecky Blogs, and I am part of the MegaCon organising committee where I do most of the marketing, along with Chris for MegaCon. And yeah, my co-host today is Chris Brown.
Hello. Yes, unlike Becky, I don't work in marketing. I work in IT, so very, very different to marketing. I have no real marketing experience, but I'm going to talk to you about what I've done with regards to a mega game I'm helping to run on the 18th of June. So we'll talk about it a bit later on. But this will be purely from my perspective of how we're going about marketing that post-pandemic.
Yeah, I think a few people might have heard Chris mention that game before.
Maybe just once or twice.
So yeah, we will be taking any questions at the end. So if you do have any, please feel free to pop those into the chat, but we will just answer those at the end. So this isn't going to be a comprehensive talk where we cover every single aspect of marketing your game. That would take far too long to go over. What we're going to give you is some key principles to bear in mind and some tips for when you are approaching running your own marketing for your game. And we are going to be looking at the 4 Ps of marketing, and those are product, price, place, and promotion. And as you can see, I'm going to be talking about the first 2, product and price, and then Chris is going to be taking over and talking about place and promotion. So product, a lot of people think that marketing starts when you sort of first post out on social media, but it actually starts long before that. It starts with the product that you are selling. And it's really important to start thinking about it at this point, because some things can't be sold, or rather some things are a lot harder to be sold than others. And that means that you really, when you're coming up with your game in the first place, you need to be thinking, is there a market for your game? Is there a market big enough for your game? This is the reason why, as I said yesterday in some of the intro chats, pop culture games have a lot more interest in them generally than something like a nitty-gritty operational mega game that takes place in the War of 1437 or something like that. A lot more people in the world are interested in pop culture topics. It's why they're pop culture. And so when you are coming to design that nitty-gritty game, it's not that you can't run it, it's just you need to be thinking about how big is the market for that? How big can you make your game to actually have people interested in it? And if you target your game too big, you are, no matter how good your marketing activity, going to really struggle to sell that. Whereas if you're doing a pop culture topic, you will probably find it a lot easier to start with. It is about more than what your game is though. The when and the where plays a big part of it. And this is part of the product you're actually selling. If you are selling a game in London, that's a very different situation to if you are selling a game in a much more remote area or an area where there isn't an established mega game community. And when has a big impact as well. If you are trying to compete with something like the UK Games Expo or another big con, or if you're running a game on a bank holiday or during the school holidays, you're going to struggle a lot more compared to running it on like a rainy Saturday in November, because people have a lot more demands on their time during that. I mean, we run games on Saturdays because people have the time off work then. That is a basic decision that the majority of the community has made about when to run games, because that's when people are most available. Now, I've said that the product is the mega game, but in a way, the product isn't the mega game. The product is the idea of the mega game. Most people aren't selling their mega game when they are selling their product. They are selling the idea of it, unless it is a rerun of a game that's already taken place, where you've got some video and some imagery and some stories from players the first time, or perhaps if you're an experienced designer and you're coming off the back of the sort of reputation you've gained from previous games. You are selling the idea of what the game could be. Lots of products do this, you know, any product that you can't experience it, like, you know, you go and you buy a teddy bear, you're buying a teddy bear. But if you're buying a holiday, you're buying the idea of the holiday. There isn't a try before you buy with Megagame. So that means that the collateral and everything like that you put together is all the more important. And that starts with what's in the name of the game. And this is something that I think a lot of designers don't get right. They will pick a name for their game, which is a clever in-joke. It's oftentimes a very clever in-joke, but this can actually alienate potential players and make them think, oh God, this game isn't for me because I don't even understand the name of the game. They will come away thinking that it's going to be a lot more complicated and a lot more of a boundary than it is. Clever in-jokes are great, and by all means come up with some, you know, put them in your handbooks as little Easter eggs for players to find who are really keen on your setting, but don't have it in the name of the game. What a name should be is very, very evocative. So a name that I think works really well is A Very British Civil War. It tells you upfront what it is. It is a civil war set in Britain, but more than that, it conveys a tone, that a very British tone just makes you think, you know, very proper and very, you know, tennis at Wimbledon and those sorts of things, which, having been to the game, that is the tone of the game. So it's a fantastic name. On the contrast, Everybody Dies, my own game, Game of Thrones game, I don't think is a very good name. It's a great in-joke, but it's not a very good name because the tone of the phrase Everybody Dies is completely different to the tone of the TV show Game of Thrones. So it just doesn't quite work, and maybe I'd change it if I was to go back and do it again. But if you're struggling to think of a great name for your game, I would suggest coming up with a strapline. So when I do say Everybody Dies, I always follow up with, for people, if people aren't aware of it, the Game of Thrones mega game, because it really just helps cement that. And for anyone who is a little bit unsure about what your name means or things like that, this is a really good way to get people right into understanding what it is, provided, of course, they know what a mega game is. So now moving on to price. Your pricing sends a message. How you price your game tells people how they should value it. Now, in the UK, physical games have an expected cost. Generally speaking, you'll be paying £30 for a physical game. Some places charge a little bit less. Some places have tried charging a little bit more. And this is a big barrier to charging anything different than this expected £30, because mega game enthusiasts will expect to pay £30 for them, and they will think, if they see you charging more than that, they will wonder why. And this means that if you are charging more than that £30 for it, then you really need to demonstrate the added value. Doesn't mean you can't, and you know, I think a lot of the times we should be charging more for mega games, but for the enthusiast market, people are used to paying a certain price, so you need to explain why you are not charging that certain price. And a great way to do this is, if people have been following the very large, huge games activity on social media, they've recently shared a map photo, and that map is beautiful. And that map just demonstrates the amount of time and effort and investment and love that has gone into designing that game. That's not to say all games don't have that put into it. I'm just saying that this is them demonstrating the added value. And, you know, I know they've got lots of other components that they're going to be showing the same sort of thing. They're demonstrating why they are charging more than the expected £30. Now, people sometimes compare mega games to escape rooms and say, well, escape rooms can be £25 per person for an hour of entertainment. So why can't mega games charge, you know, 6 times, because it's a 6-hour game? Why can't we charge £100 for them? And the problem is not only that there is the expected cost for enthusiasts, but for people who are new to mega games, there is already a huge investment they're expected to make. Time is money, and when we are asking new players to come along to a mega game, we are telling them to give up an entire day of their lives, plus travel time, possibly staying overnight if they're not in the city, all that sort of stuff. So if a player is thinking, oh, I'll go along to an escape room, and if I don't like it, it's £20 I've lost in an hour of time. If players are thinking about coming along to mega games, they're looking at and thinking, okay, that's an entire day, and you want me to pay how much if it's significantly more? And it can be off-putting. And we do know that metagaming is currently a very niche hobby. This isn't to say that don't price it at that higher price point. It's just, again, not just the enthusiast community. You need to be demonstrating what it is, why it is worth it to them if you are charging more than sort of like a level of money that people can just think, oh, if I don't enjoy it and have to leave after a couple of hours, that's okay. You know, it will be a shame, but it's not a huge loss. At the other end of the spectrum, free doesn't mean you'll fill your game. As I said, people value your game based on how you price it, and people devalue from free experiences. People, rather than seeing it as, oh, I've signed up for this thing on Saturday, they'll be like, oh yeah, no, there was that thing. It's free. If I forget about it, it doesn't really matter. You're more likely to see no-shows at your games. And when people do turn up, they're less likely to be invested in it. And they probably won't even necessarily compare it with other games that they've been to where they've had to pay to it because they have lower expectations of it. So that's just a bit of a warning against having free games, even for online games. But if you are being moving away from the expected pricing for games, then why not get creative with your pricing? Things like bulk discounts, which I know First Contact is doing, where you get 10% off if you book a 4-person team. Early bird rates, I think, is another great idea. And this can be especially useful if you are targeting the Megagame enthusiasts. You could have, say, the first 30 tickets are going for £30, and then after that it goes up to 40 or 45 or something like that. That way the enthusiasts who are likely to be early bookers anyway are more likely to get those early bird rates that are close to what they're expecting. And then people in the broader community are paying slightly more, which is the price that you actually think your game is worth. Some things that I would say that I don't recommend: last minute lower rates. That just encourages people to put off booking onto your game because they expect you to drop your prices last minute. Whereas in actual fact, if not enough people book on early, you might not get to run your game. And I also am not a fan of different prices for different roles. So a lot of people charge different prices. Some people think press should be a lower cost ticket. Team leaders should maybe have a higher cost ticket. Or plumpire roles might have a half price ticket. Generally, I'm not a huge fan of this because if someone's coming along to enjoy themselves, then the enjoyment they get normally isn't necessarily related to the role they're playing. Versus if someone is coming along is crucial to you actually putting the game on, they're probably controlling, you probably shouldn't be charging them. So I wouldn't generally have different prices for different roles. We'll now move on to place. So take it away, Chris.
Cool, thank you very much, Becky. Yeah, so we can talk about place now, where you want to actually advertise your mega game through the marketing that you're going to be doing. And the first thing to say would be to create a website, really. It's the first place that people will come to look for more information. It doesn't have to be the fanciest website in the world. It certainly doesn't have to be anything like we've done for First Contact, which is a Squarespace site, which is relatively low cost, but with multiple pages. It could just be a single page on a WordPress site, which is free, because obviously, as we know, it does cost quite a bit of money to put on a game, venue costs and what have you else. So the cheaper or free, the better, really. So yeah, absolutely look for the ability to create a website or at least a page where you can add that information about roles, about what the background for the game's going to be, what you're expecting the players to be getting up to, that kind of stuff. So people can have an understanding of what they're coming into, especially if it's a brand new world you're creating, so that they want just to rely on a Facebook post maybe that will disappear after a short while, and they may hunt around, try and never find it again potentially. The next item I will be talking about will be word of mouth. Obviously, word of mouth is a very powerful tool. If you engage people in the Megagame community and ask them to tell their friends, that's a great way of getting the word out, especially as Becky mentioned just now, obviously Megagames, as we all know, are a very niche hobby. So if you have people who are already involved in the community that know what to expect and how much they enjoy it, to get them to bring their friends along, you will hopefully expand the community and you'll get more players for your game. In addition to this, you might want to, if you play in D&D groups or you're involved in D&D community in Facebook or other places online, then obviously it's very sort of hobby adjacent. All that D&D and LARPs, obviously, or other geek hobbies, are very Megagame adjacent. So you could try and engaging those sort of folks as well. They may well have a great time. Obviously, we got a lot of players from coming through from the Shut Up and Sit Down video, the famous Watch the Skies video, which probably almost everybody in the community post 2014, 15 has come in through. But yeah, obviously D&D, LARP, other geek adjacent hobbies that people do enjoy, they may well enjoy Megagaming as well. Another place to maybe leave flyers potentially is game stores, sort of board game stores, wherever else. So just considering other ways of getting the message out there that isn't just online, basically. Talking of an online, don't just use Facebook. Obviously, a lot of marketing happens now through Facebook, and it's understandable. It's a tool that's used by a lot of people, but there are a few downsides to Facebook. When you post your message to, say, the Megagame Makers Facebook group, which has it's obviously the most popular Facebook group for Mega Games. It's got over 2,000 people, I think, signed up to it. Those 2,000 people will not see your post. Probably a subset, maybe a couple of hundred people, if you're lucky, may see the post. And obviously, there are some people who are not on Facebook even. Obviously, there's some people who choose to leave or never joined. And so if you're literally only marketing via Facebook, you're not going to catch those people. And so you're going to miss out on potentially interested parties who will never get to know about your game. And finally, on place, obviously, full disclosure, I help run megagameassembly.com, but we have a full global calendar of mega games around the world we know about. If you're running a mega game and we haven't heard about it, then let us know through the website and through the contact us function. We'll put it on there. It's completely free of charge. We'll put some information that obviously you're using to market your game, and we'll add it up there. Can't guarantee people will necessarily click through to your game, but obviously mega games are a worldwide phenomenon. So yeah, tell us about it and we'll absolutely put it up on there for you. Another option, obviously, is the Megagame networks. So, for example, in London, you've got Megagame Makers, you've got Horizon Megagames up north, you've got True North and Pennine in the Midlands, so all around the UK. And then in the US, you've got Megagame Coalition, who help run games at Gen Con and other cons when we're allowed to normally gather outside of pandemic conditions. But obviously, they can help market your game as well and deal with some of the admin too, potentially, depending on what the setup of the network is. But yeah, they would likely have existing customers or players on their mailing lists that will get the word out to them about your game and when it's going to run. So yeah, lots of different ways other than just Facebook, which obviously is a very good tool and free, but there's obviously many other ways that you can utilize to get the word out. Yeah, so if we go to the next slide, if that's okay, Becky. Brilliant, thank you. So this is obviously all about the promotion of your game. So what we're going to do, so creating the messaging is the first point I think we're going to discuss. For anyone that comes to your website for the first time, if you have set up a website, which obviously I think you really should do, they need to know immediately what your game's about. In one or two paragraphs or sentences, they need to know exactly what's going to be the background of your game, what is it. So for example, for us, First Contact, we're taking a theme that's very, very popular in Mega Games through Watch the Skies. It's obviously aliens coming to Earth. So we make it very clear on the front page of the website that's exactly what it is. We've got our hero image, which has been very gracefully designed by Tom Morley to showcase, in an image what that is. His astronaut looking up at the off the moon, off at space, and what is that in his visor. So yeah, absolutely, make it very clear in the first paragraph of the first sort of landing page of your website. Anybody who visits can tell exactly what your game's going to be about. If it's zombie pirates, then have an image of a zombie pirate and explain, that's what players are going to be getting up to. They're either going to be a zombie pirate, or they're going to be a member of the colonial team, potentially trying to put down the pirates. Who knows? Whatever the game is. Yeah, that's obviously very necessary. Secondly, educational content. Now, obviously, we've mentioned, and everybody probably on this listening to this video right now probably knows that mega games are a niche hobby, and because of that, people outside the community don't know what a mega game is, won't even necessarily know what the word means. So you probably want to consider telling players in your marketing, as well as on your website, what actually a mega game is. Have an elevator pitch, make it very short and succinct. It's obviously a combination of different activities, LARPing, board games, team activities, all mushed into one, and runs on a full day. I mean, obviously you can probably take other information from around the different mega game sites and create your own, or take one from Mega Game Assembly. We've got some information there as well, just to make sure that the folks who have never played a mega game before, or have never even heard about a mega game, can understand pretty quickly what they're getting themselves into if they sign up. So yeah. And when you're posting your content on Facebook or Instagram or any other social media, try and ask questions and reveal information about the world you're building, to make sure that people can again understand what kind of game you're setting up. And you may not get interaction necessarily. It's very hard to get interaction in a public forum like on Facebook or Instagram, but you never know, you might get some. And even if you're not, you're still potentially getting some interaction along the way. And getting the interaction might get helping with that will be being entertaining and being active. So with First Contact, we've been posting every 3 days, because we obviously trying to sell a 200-player mega game. So we recognize that there's a lot of people that need to sign up. So we wanted to sort of have quite a lead time, and have regular posts. But that obviously could well be overwhelming if you're a one-man band or you're one-person band and you're trying to do everything, running your creating your game and marketing it and running it on the day, then obviously that's not appropriate. You could set up a calendar and work out what release content you want to do, maybe once a week, maybe once a week and a half or 2 weeks, something like that, whatever works for you basically. But yeah, setting up a calendar and placing in those dates what you think you're going to post would very much help, I think, with your plans. And obviously, if people do reply to your posts, either on Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else, on Discord perhaps, then do respond to them, because obviously it shows you're engaged, and you want to make sure the day goes well for players, and that may well draw other people into the conversation as well. Don't just ignore anybody. That's already the worst thing to do. And then when you do come to sell tickets, so for example, for us, we spent about a month sort of trailing the game. But obviously, the time you come to sell tickets, you need to actually tell people what to do. You need to have a prominent button on your website or in your marketing with a link to where they can buy tickets, whether that be on TicketTailor, PayPal, on a website somewhere, whatever proposal you use to do that. Absolutely make it very easy for them to do. A simple link, a button on a website, whatever it is. But let them know how they need to sign up, because obviously if you've got them that far down the way of potentially signing your game, you want to make it easy that they follow through and actually pay you some money and come along on the day. Finally, set up a mailing list. MailChimp is very good for this, and we're using it First Contact. You can obviously send emails as often as you want, and you can obviously use it to sort of provide more information to the people who are engaged with your game. And obviously, if they sign up to your mailing list, then they can unsubscribe at any time with MailChimp, but also they will be potentially available for any future mega games you run. If you run the same game again, or if you're running future games, you'll be able to contact them regarding that. So yeah, absolutely, use mailing lists as well. And on the left-hand side of this slide, you can see some of the marketing, which if you somehow managed to avoid, I'm very impressed. Well done. And how can I get hold of you if you have managed to avoid it? But these are some of the sort of marketing things we've done with First Contact. You can see we've asked questions on there. So a presidential kill list, we're sure that would never happen in our game. So it's sort of playing off the fact that it's happened in real life with the US President Barack Obama. He had a kill list, and also in games. Players are usually running around committing some sort of war crime. So yeah, just trying to play off make a bit of humor and play off of things that happen in games regularly. Certainly watch the Skies-esque games anyway. So there's some of the examples of things that we've created for First Contact. So yes, that's promotion. So yeah, Becky, if you might go into the next slide. Fantastic, thank you. And now we're going to talk about some tools. Becky, maybe if you want to have a chat about Buffer and WordPress first.
Sure thing. So there are absolutely tons of tools out there. These are some of the free ones that we know about. If you do have a little bit of money to play with, then there are also a lot of other suggestions out there. So if you are looking for somewhere to host your website, you can just host that information about your game on something like your ticketing platform. But if you do want to have a web page, and I do definitely recommend it, then WordPress has got a free option for it. You can just set up a website. It's very, very intuitive. It's very user-friendly nowadays to create a website from scratch. You don't need to have any knowledge about design, website design, or anything like that. WordPress is free. There are also some low-cost alternatives such as Squarespace and Wix and things like that, and Weebly. There are also tools out there if you're a little bit more comfortable with technology, the paid the WordPress.org version and things like that. So there's lots of options out there for you to get a website up quickly, easily, and not very expensively. Buffer is, I think, the best thing to happen to social media scheduling ever. It is a tool that you use to schedule to your social media. You can use it to schedule to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then stuff like LinkedIn and various other ones. It can't be used for things like Discord or Reddit or anything like that, but it is fantastic for scheduling to sort of like the main platforms. And the way it works is you set up a queue, and then you just add posts to the queue, and when it reaches the time on your queue, it sends out the post across all the platforms. You can upload images, you can upload videos, you can add links. It all looks fantastic, and it just makes it so easy. So you can just go in and say, okay, I'm going to schedule my content for the next month, however much content you're scheduling, and it just goes out. And as I said, that's got a free version which lets you schedule up to 10 posts, and then there's a at a time, and then there's a paid version where you can do more than that. But if you're posting every 3 days, then that's a month's worth of content. So yeah, would definitely recommend Buffer.
Yeah, fantastic. And the next thing we're going to talk about is Canva. I have absolutely no art skills whatsoever. I'm completely useless in the respect, but the images you just saw on the previous slide were created in Canva. The free version is absolutely fantastic. There's so many images and photos, fonts, and other styles that you can use. Their templates are very extensive as well. So I've created all of those on Canva basically. And in fact, if you know me, you know that I'm very adverse to paying for anything if I can get away with it. I don't like spending money, and I've paid for the Canva subscription on a yearly basis. So I think it's an absolutely fantastic tool, and I would recommend it thoroughly to anybody. I think, Becky, you've used it as well.
Yeah, I have used Canva throughout my entire career. As I said, I work in marketing professionally, and I still think Canva is the best graphic design tool out there for people who aren't graphic designers. I also use it to actually create most of the like cards and collateral for my games as well. And yeah, I've got a paid version of it too, because it is so good. So if you take nothing else away from this talk, go and try out Canva. It will change your life when it comes to design.
Very much so. Yeah, completely change your life. I think it's thoroughly fantastic, especially the free version is just amazing for what you get. And then we've got a few other things mentioned here. Unsplash and Pexels, they're both free photo sites, and obviously you can just go on there and use the photos, perhaps put them into Canva, or if you need to use them for other parts of your marketing. You do sometimes need to credit the photographer or the artist that's created the images, and it will say on the pages that you're using them if that needs to happen, and obviously you should do that if they ask you to do so. But they've got great images. You can search on keywords and find whatever you need if they've got it available. Then if you've got specific fonts that you're needing to use, for example, in our marketing we've got a couple of specific fonts we're using. You can actually upload that to Canva if you have the paid version, and so Font Squirrel and thefont.com, great places to look for fonts if you need anything other than what, say, Microsoft Word or Google Sheets provides. And then finally, Flat Icon and GameIcons.net. Now, obviously, you may well be using these tools in your game itself, on cards, say, for example. But if you want to sort of showcase those cards in some social media posts, you can obviously use those icons that come from Game Icons or Flat Icon as well, through your marketing purposes. The final thing to say is this is just a very small selection of some of the free tools that are out there. And if you do a search for free marketing tools on the internet, on Google, you're bound to come up with many more. So if you have any you use that we haven't listed here, then please do pop them in the chat. But yeah, this is some of the ones we've used, and yeah, it's incredible what you can get in 2022 for free marketing. It's absolutely fantastic. I don't know, Becky, if you've got any others in addition to those that we've mentioned that you've used before. I'll put you on the spot there, sorry.
Because I work in marketing, I have access to quite a lot of paid ones through my work and things like that.
Course.
Ben Sound is really good for getting free audio for videos. I use that for all of the audio that's the backing on MegaCon videos and any of the other videos I've made. That they're like it, as Chris said, just have a search for if you're looking for a specific type of thing, just add the word free into Google and you can normally find it. But make sure that you don't just go onto Google and take images off Google image search or anything like that, because you can't use those for copyright reasons.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a marketing talk if we didn't give Chris an opportunity to do this, would it?
No, exactly. There you go. So you come to a marketing talk, I'm going to have to market you, I'm afraid. As I mentioned, First Contact 2035 is our 200-player mega game, inspired by Watch the Skies. So aliens are coming to Earth, and we and the players are going to respond to that, whether they be aliens themselves or national players, corporations, scientists, the UN, or the press reporting on the day's events. So yes, the game is going to happen on the 18th of June. 2022, if you're watching this after we recorded this today. So if it's before that date and you'd like to come along to a 200-player mega game in London, in the UK, then please sign up. We're selling tickets right now. It's verylargehugegames.com/tickets, and we'd love to see you there. We've put like Becky mentioned, with a map, we've got 5 awesomely designed maps that are going to obviously run the military commander side of things. We've also put a lot of effort into the handbooks, into briefings, and we've got an excellent control team of about 30 experienced mega gamers who will be focused on making sure all the players' days are great. We've been working on this since about the beginning of lockdown, so about March 2020, so about 2 years now. We've been working on it solidly, so we hope to produce an excellent game. And if you've managed to avoid my marketing over the last month or so, well done. But if you are interested at all in 200-player Watch the Skies-esque game, then please do sign up. We'd love to see you.
And consider yourself to have just lost the game of avoiding the very large, huge games marketing game.
Congratulations if you managed this far, though, but you have lost now.
Yeah, that's the end of the talk. So if you've got any questions, please just pop those into the chat. I think we've got about 15 minutes to take any questions that anyone's got.
So we've got a few here, I think, a few comments. Peter Nixon said he's a bit skeptical of the efficiency of posted flyers. It seems the best flyer technique is to have a business card that you can give to folks when you're spreading the word of mouth. That's an interesting idea. Have you ever done that for work, Becky?
I used to have business cards when I ran my own business. I like the idea of having a I like the idea of having a business card for your game, actually, or maybe like a postcard sized version of it that you can give to people. Just take along to all of the gaming events that you go to, and then if anyone asks, that would actually be a really good idea. I like that idea. I should get some Megagame Assembly should make postcards.
We have discussed it before, actually.
That people can buy if they want to be able to give them to people who they chat to and say, or just give them to people.
We've considered getting maybe business cards or postcards for after games. We have never actually gone through with it, and maybe we should. But obviously with the pandemic, it's kind of got in the way of any marketing plans. But for sure, it's a very good idea. Absolutely, something physical for people to hold as well, which is always good. Pete again has asked, what's the fruit juice ad about on the previous slide. So in First Contact, we've got 8 corporations, and one of them is the American Fruit Company, which is, I believe, somewhat based on a real sort of company that was linked to the CIA back in the sort of 70s and 80s. That one in the middle of the bottom there. I haven't actually done this. I haven't released that image yet so you get a little sneak peek I haven't put onto Instagram and Facebook yet. So again, I made this in Canva. I just literally grabbed an image of fruit, which is the majority of that picture from Canva's own templates, and then I stuck the logo that our amazing designer has created for that corporation on the front there, and then I was going to basically just write a bit about the corporation from a sort of a background perspective to try and get people interested in the game. So that's going to be coming soon. We're going to do more marketing. I'm sure you guys were looking forward to. If you managed to avoid it, well done. But if you haven't, there's more coming. Patrick says that the Canva is obviously the greatest tool ever made, and yes, I would definitely agree with you on that. Tony says, when does marketing turn to spamming? And yes, I probably have crossed that threshold, I'm afraid. Becky, any ideas on that?
Well, I think you and I have a different opinion about this, and I do find this very interesting because, as I mentioned, I do an awful lot of things. So I do BeckyBecky blogs. I've been doing MegaCon, and I have obviously marketed my own games in the past. And I think I probably ate a bit too much on the side of not wanting to piss people off and irritate people with my marketing. Whereas I know, Chris, you are fully in the territory of you don't give a damn if your marketing pisses people off.
No, you can ignore me. You can just click ignore or unfollow, whatever it is.
Yeah, but you don't want people to do that with your marketing.
No, I know, but they're not going to come to the game anyway. So.
But they might do if you didn't. Yeah, Chris and I actually have a difference of opinion here, which is I think interesting. And I think the main thing is just to make sure that the content that you're posting is relevant to the audience that you're posting it to. So, you know, there's a different amount that you can post your content in something like the Megagame Assembly Facebook group to how much you can post it in like a chat with your friends or in a group that you're not affiliated with or things like that. And it's made even harder by the fact that a lot of social networking sites as Chris mentioned, restrict the number of people who see certain posts. So you are encouraged to post things multiple times across multiple places just to make sure that people see it. But then lots of people end up seeing it multiple times everywhere, and that can feel spammy to people. So it is a fine balancing act. But there's not really an answer to it, unfortunately. I would just go with what you feel comfortable doing, and I don't feel comfortable posting out as aggressively as Chris does. And yeah, well, we'll see how well Very Large Huge Game's filling, which is reasonably well so far, I think. So
yeah, it's not going too badly, but more players is always better. Got a question here from Alex. As a community, how do you think we can market better to other areas of gaming? So RPGs, LARPs, maybe board gaming as well. Any ideas on that, Becky?
So as I sort of said before, making sure that what you're posting is relevant. So if you're posting something into a LARP group, so I posted into LARP groups when I was marketing Trope High because it was a very sort of role play heavy game, and it's just playing up the parts of the game that are relevant to that audience, and also explaining the ways in which it's different to what they would expect from that hobby. But you know, if I was posting something in a LARP group about Trope High, I would say, you know, come along, be an American high school student, you know, you don't need to dress up, you won't be in character all day, but you know, and I big up the parts that I know they'll be interested in based on their existing hobby, but also make them aware of the differences. And then similarly, if I was putting it in a board game group, I would say, you know, I don't even know what I would say to a board game group, to be honest. But yeah, it's just about making it relatable to the people who are in those groups.
Yes, absolutely, completely. Maybe one from your perspective, Becky, because you've obviously run games, Everybody Dies, and also Trope High, and you've been very involved with Penine Megagames in the past. Do you have any stats from any post-game surveys that show the best marketing channels, i.e. how you heard about this game? Has that ever been asked on feedback forms when you've been involved?
I can't remember if it's ever been asked. I don't think that it was asked about either of the games that I was involved with. I think stuff like that is really useful for people, especially if you're planning on running multiple games. It's really, really useful information to have, but generally speaking, it will only be part of the picture. So for example, social media marketing, which is one of the areas of marketing I specialize in, is generally underrepresented on things like that, because social media marketing is seen as a step in the process. A lot of people don't find out about things from social media, but the messaging gets reinforced through social media. So if you do use a question like that, just be aware that it wouldn't show the full picture. And I can see that Paddy's put in that they've got a "how did you hear about this game" question, which I had completely forgotten existed. But no, so that's the thing, because most of the time people hear about things in multiple different ways, and what they might do when they see a question like that is just think of either the last thing that they saw or the first thing that they saw. Whereas if you're doing your marketing well, chances are people are seeing your marketing content multiple times, and there's a whole big thing in marketing theory about how many times people need to see something before they actually decide to take action, like seven times you see something before you actually decide to take action on it, and things like that. So just a thing to bear in mind, that it's not necessarily going to give you the whole picture.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's all the questions covered in there now, in the chat. I don't know if you want to finish off with anything specifically, Becky. I know we've gone through our presentation. But yeah.
I think if I was going to finish off on anything, I'd say the easiest way, if you're struggling to like get started with your marketing and come up with like what you actually want to say to people, is just to grab a friend, ideally one that doesn't really know what marketing is, set your phone to record and tell them about your game, tell them why they should come along to your game, explain what it is, record yourself explaining all of this and doing all of that. And that content there that you're saying right there is going to be the best content probably that you can create, or that you can get down, of what your game is and why people should come along to it. Marketing works so well if you use it as if you are speaking to an actual person rather than blasting stuff. There's a place for blasting. There's absolutely a place for blasting. But when you come to like the actual persuasive content, what you say to a person is often to an actual human being is often the really, really good stuff. So if you're struggling to get started, that's where I'd say get started.
Yeah, fair enough. And I would just say that if you are struggling with marketing your Megagame, then reach out to the community. Obviously, you know, I'm not professing to any kind of knowledge here, but Becky works in marketing. There are other people that must work in marketing in the community. If you have questions, then please do reach out, and I'm sure somebody will respond. Maybe with this presentation as well, we can make things a bit, we can get things out there a bit more. And as the pandemic is now ending, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get back to Megagaming again and have new people come along that they've heard through marketing channels.
That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everybody. If you'd like to talk to us, obviously you can't physically talk to us now in Zoom, but if you want to talk to us, then please pop along to the pub on the Discord server, on the MegaCon Discord server in a second, and we'll be happily to talk to you.
Yeah, this is the last seminar for the afternoon, isn't it?
It is, yes.
much later on, where we've got what was it
Alan
called?
Zhang.
Alan Zhang doing trust and betrayal in the classroom. That was it.
Yes, he runs Watch the Skies on a week-long basis in his classroom every university in the US. It should be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that. It's about 9 p.m. UK time, I believe that's going to run. So we'll post on MegaCon Discord server nearer the time this evening.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much. See you later on. Bye-bye.